Hello. Welcome to the Women Who STEM the Gap podcast, an IIT Delhi and Co-Impact initiative. I am Ridhima Sharma and I'm excited to bring you the insights and experiences of some incredible women in STEM. In today's episode, I will be speaking with Kirti Jangra, an IIT Delhi graduate and the co-founder of Animal.in, an online cattle trading startup. You can learn more about her work in the description below. So let's get started. Hello, Kirti. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us at STEM the Gap. We're very excited to learn more about your journey and hear your thoughts. Just to start off, could you tell us a little bit about your journey in STEM? And then, what are your thoughts on the gendered nature of engineering education in India?
Hi, Ridhima. Thank you for reaching out to me and offering me this opportunity to speak with you. I hope it would be a discussion where I can also learn something from you. I'm Kirti. I'm one of the co-founders at Animal. I'm a graduate of IIT Delhi, a batch of 12 to 16. My journey in STEM is actually till my graduation because post that I moved into management consulting, and then afterwards I started my own thing, Animal. Your question was gendered nature in STEM. I think it's a deep question. Before I share any of my opinions here, I want to make this statement that I'm also in the process of learning. What I used to think 2, 3 years back about, let's say, gender diversity, topics like sexism, feminism, even my point of views have continuously evolved. So while I sit here and make some statements which can perhaps impact people's lives if someone listens to it, I want to be responsible here and tell that I'm in the process of learning. There is a very high chance that 2 years later, my views have also evolved. Having said that, I think when we were in college, and even before that, when we were preparing for IIT, of course, there was a huge gap. There is this 10%, 5% female participation in coaching classes as well, and then there's 90% male participation. And the same reflects, of course, across our IIT batches as well. My sister Rhythm is, I think she's also 5 years, 6 years later, she came into IIT Delhi than me, and it had gotten better. It had definitely gotten better by then, but of course, it's not 50-50 yet. It's nothing inherent in the system which prevents women to come forward. It's just second order, third order impact of many cultural and historical aspects which leads to this. If you pick a particular class, if you pick a particular lab, there's nothing which stops women. So I think the system itself is fine, but the cultural and historical impacts of, let's say, usually from a very early age, it's like, oh, girls ko maths nahi aata, classes mein aise rehta hai. And then there is this, concept that engineering mein women should only take biotech or chemical, or if you're getting a better branch, then maybe just CS, MCA, but not mechanical, not civil. So I think those conditioning and those historical concepts do exist, and that's what leads to the gendered nature of STEM. Hopefully, there is no professor actively sitting around and thinking, yeah, I don't want women participation in my class. So it's more, I think, the gendered nature requires more affirmative actions that, okay, there is nothing stopping women, but is there something promoting women to balance out the historical and cultural context of not doing STEM work? Even if you take people around me, everyone was like, although I was getting civil engineering, mechanical engineering, but everyone was around me who was like, either you take computer science or you take something like biotech, so you can go and research and then eventually do some PhD and do some lab work. So you don't have to actually do field work, because that's what people think for, let's say, computer and biotech. It was for me a very abnormal choice to take civil, because people were like, but then what would you do? You won't go on the field. Which I think now is like, no, I could have gone to the field if I would have pursued civil. And 2, 3 of my batchmates actually eventually became IES, and they do go on the field, and they are doing everything what a civil engineer on the field is supposed to do. So yeah, I think it's less of the system reducing anything, but just historical and cultural context.
And do you find some of these cultural conceptions or barriers, even in the world of startups now, now that you've started your own sort of company?
See, I won't lie. I think it's the same people. It's the same society. It's the same people. You would go, for example, there are certain pro-female fields. Like everyone's like, oh, you want to do banking, go for it. It's a very female-friendly thing. You want to. There are certain parts of the job where it's like, you want to do HR for sure. Like women are so much better with emotions. They should do HR. So I think, of course, yes, it's the same people, it's the same society, and we're most of us are brought up with the same things. I'm sure there is deep down some conditioning even in me, while I try to be so much more aware and being a woman myself, I think there are sometimes when I show hints of sexism because of the conditioning. So it's the same people in the same society.
So, can I just take a moment to just ask you very quickly, like, what made you choose the path that you're on, right? You did engineering, then you said you moved to management consulting, and then you became an entrepreneur. What was that journey like? Just in like short.
I mean, what was the journey like, or why was the journey like what it was?
Both.
Okay. Okay, I walked right into that question myself. I could have just answered one of them. I was good at science, maths. I wanted to do something big. I come from a small town. IIT was the big thing, and I had interest in engineering. I enjoyed physics even when I was a child. I'm sure I could have enjoyed biology as well, but I was just drawn to physics more. So that's why I picked up engineering as okay, this is what I want to do. Then later on, I had bigger ambitions. So it was that okay, I'll try to do IIT. Then IIT happened, and within college, I struggled a lot as to what to do. I think you ask so many of my professors, I struggled a lot. Recently, I was speaking to Dr. Shashank Vishnoy. He was our concrete professor. And he told me that he remembered that in first year, I asked him, how do you plan for the next steps of life? First year. And then I wished him on Teacher's Day, and he said, I hope your next steps of life are planned now. I said, sir, I don't get the context. And he said, because I remember first year you were so worried what you're going to do. So I think I juggled a lot here and there. There was this one time when I was planning to do IAS. After that, I think I moved to doing a master's and a PhD either in transportation, which would have been a STEM path, or in concrete itself. And that's why I think I discussed a lot with him. Then eventually I did get a job offer out of college, and I thought I can always go for a master's. And I had admissions in different colleges, but I said, okay, let's defer them and maybe try out management consulting for a while. Let's see how I like it. It was also going to be my first salary. So I was like, okay, I want money somehow. I don't want to ask parents anymore. So let's try earning for a year and see what happens. So then I ended up trying out management consulting. I ended up really enjoying business. I don't come from a business family, so business is a bit looked down upon in my family. Then I got exposed to the business world, and I really enjoyed it. So I thought, okay, I'll let my, master's admissions go. I said no to the universities and then continued in management consulting. After 3, 4 years, I think my college roommate, who's my co-founder, she said, we used to dream a lot in college about starting something of our own. Then she had this idea and she said, bro, do you want to go ahead with this? And it was a dream team. I also liked the space because I come from a dairy farming family. So the market spoke to me a lot. I understood that the market's also huge to build something really big on. And I think I was also at that point of my life where after 3, 4 years in corporate, I was thinking, okay, this can't be it with life. That okay, do you just live like this now, and do you just hope for the next March for appraisal, or are you living project by project? Like I wanted some more path in life, so I wanted something to chase more, else I was finding life really boring. I think all 3 points were really sticking around, so I decided to go for and build Animal. And why? I think I covered the whys.
Yes.
I was really bored. I was really, really bored in life. And I wanted some huge challenge that keeps me busy and up at night. So then I said, okay, I'll do Animal.
Wonderful. So you've done so many different things, right? Through your education, the work that you've done, whether it's in corporate or whether it's running your own company as a co-founder. What are some of the, say, one or two barriers or challenges that come to your mind that you faced in this journey? And what are, say, some of the approaches or strategies that you used to tackle those?
See, I think for me, it's been less of a journey of people being like, oh, you can't do this. And then me pushing myself that, okay, what do I do about this? And being demotivated. I think I'm an aggressive person just generally. I always ran from this that I will do what people have asked me not to do, which is not a healthy and good strategy to live life. It's always been like, no, no, I can't prove you wrong. I will prove you wrong. It's a very rebellious sort of way of life, and it really exhausts you by the end of the day. Yeah, because sometimes you were just all the time rebelling, and there's a thin line between, are you rebelling because someone said you can't do, or are you rebelling because you actually really wanted to do that thing? So in the last 2 years, I've gone through that journey where I'm like, I shouldn't care. It's not about what people think I can or cannot do, but it's really about just not caring that and doing what I like. So it's less exhausting for sure. And it's more inward motivated than externally motivated. So I'm not seeking anyone's validation like that anymore. That honestly, I think my biggest thing as a woman is just being myself and not even trying to prove that whether I'm good enough or not. I think that's the biggest act of rebellion one can do. That I don't, it's not about breaking barriers, it's just not about caring. So I think that's less exhausting, and it gives me space wherever I want. And I'm not, sometimes I used to pick small battles, and it really used to exhaust me and perhaps lose sight of the bigger thing that you're doing in life. So I'm now out of that loop where I'm not trying to break barriers. I'm just trying to do what I like to do. And I think maybe that's true act of rebellion.
Yeah, it's true. When you think about it, like constantly thinking of rebelling, is this something you actually want to do, or is we're just trying to prove something? And once you stop trying to prove something is when you actually then realize your full potential. Wonderful. So, is there one experience or individual that has really influenced your journey?
For sure, there would be a lot of individuals. There are people at my home, like my mom, dad, my grandparents. There would be so many people that you read about, that you learn from online. I don't keep a barrier of whether I can meet someone to learn or to not learn. People, so many professors from college, friends. I think my co-founder Neetu is someone I constantly learn from, and now my husband. So I think, of course, there's so much to learn from different people who are around you.
Another question just about your journey and your experience, just getting your thoughts in. What do you think are some of the ways that we can retain more women in STEM now that you're an entrepreneur and you're on the other side, perhaps hiring people? What do you think can potentially help retain more women in STEM fields?
I'm not sure if I'm qualified to answer this. Maybe I can answer more from a corporate/startup point of view, because there would be challenges unique to the universities and academia and this field, which would perhaps have better understanding of the space and more relevant answers. I think still to add 2 cents to it, if we think from more systems perspective rather than a specific person perspective, that can bring us some answers. That how is the system designed? We had this professor in one of our courses called, it was a transportation course, road safety, Dinesh Mohan. I think he used to say that it's not that, it was about how do you build safer highways, safer roads. And he said that it's not about teaching people to drive better. It's about designing a system in a way that even if they're recklessly driving, it doesn't cause accidents. That's how you build a safer community. It's not by trying to educate every single person. It's lesser effective, and someone's going to have a bad day and drive rash, but your roads should accommodate for that. So I think in a similar way, instead of trying to uncondition everybody, we need to design a system in a way that it takes care of whatever that is lacking in, let's say, people in the system.
Yeah, that's a lovely correlation. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let me just ask you, as somebody who is potentially, we think you're a role model for girls and women out there, but what are the kind of questions that you have gotten from, say, girls or women who want to pursue an education in STEM or take the entrepreneur startup path? And what are, say, one or two pieces of advice that you would like to share?
I don't remember so many of the questions, but couple of questions that which branches are more female friendly branches at the time of selecting engineering, branches. Other would be that whether field job is suitable for women or not. How do I deal with gender discrimination? That's another. I think one big one is that when you enter management consulting, and it's at least at the org that I was, it was an 80-20 split. So it was really about, and college is still different, but when you enter a job, you're spending a lot of time there. It's especially management consulting, I think you're spending like 14 hours a day. So how do you then really gel in with the bros? That's a real question. So it's a very, I think academia has different set of challenges. Maybe this is a different set of challenges, but in corporate there is a real bro culture. So how do you break into the bro culture? How do you become part of the group who thinks you are cool? And in management consulting, there's this thing of picking your project teams. So how do you make sure that you're gelled in enough with the bros so they pick you, they don't leave you out, you don't get the shittier projects, but you actually get the meaty ones. Because if everyone's going to spend 14 hours together, then everybody wants to pick people they gel best with. So how do you become a bro?
And it is a very valid concern, right? How do you become part of like the office culture? And if the office culture is bro culture, either how do you become a part of it, or how do you break the bro culture?
What advice? If you would ask me 6 years ago, I would have given you like tactical tips on how to become a bro. I would have given a list that you do this, you're okay with some stuff, etc., etc. Okay with some stuff in a way that you're pulling late nighters with them, you're hanging out at their places. I would have given like real bro fitting in with the bros tips. But I think now, and one of my sisters is in management consult. Actually, both of them are in management consulting now. I think now what I say is just do your work right. Because in the end, people are going to see who works the best, who gives the best ROI on a project as a resource, and they will pick you. And eventually, it's your manager's job as well that your utilization is done to the maximum. So if you're doing your work right and your manager is doing their job right, if they're not doing their job right, and you're continuously asking, okay, what's the status on me getting projects allocated? If you're on top of that and you're delivering ROI, then I think you can let the bro culture worry on the side a little bit. But also, I won't let it go completely. It is inherently useful to make friendships at workplace. Maybe office friendships, but friendships, because then it's just more pleasant to work.
And what would you say to, say, younger girls who are aspiring to enter IITs?
I think I would say that it's a great time of your life. I would definitely want to relive those days. My husband's also my batch from college, and we often go back to college just to, hang around there. It's a wonderful time of life. It's full of opportunities. It's full of resources. Just really live it out.
And what would be like some of the things that girls or women should think of? Like parts of it you've answered, but like to deal with things like gender discrimination or cultural perceptions, how to navigate those things on campus?
See, I don't know. I graduated like 7, 8 years back now. So I really don't know how the campus is today. I can perhaps just share what I feel today. I really don't know about the campus today. I think one is, I'm assuming everybody who's in campus would be a really hustling person. It's not the woman who you need to tell that, hey, fight off. I think it's the woman you need to tell that, just relax a little bit. Sometimes you have your guard up so much that even when it's not a situation of rebellion, we rebel. Put your guard down for a while, think, be more mindful, and pick your battles. Just don't start fighting everything that you get because you'll really get exhausted. So pick your battles, be more conscious. I'm not I'm not advising that you don't have to speak, but just being cognizant of what are you doing, where are you spending your energy. So that would be one thing. And I think second thing that I really believe in is there's this thing in first, second year where usually for some sort of approval or something, at least in our times, it used to be like girls would make a lot of male friends. Maybe it's trying to be bro culture. I can't decode it, but I would say that female friendships are so important. One of my best friendships were made in college. Neetu, Kartika, I think these are one of my best friends, and I found them in college. So don't lose sight of female friendships.
And it's true, female friendships are so important. So, one of the things you mentioned earlier when I was asking you about who might have influenced your journey, you mentioned that you've learned from people online as well. So, can I ask you, what do you think, what kind of a role can digital mentorship play in encouraging girls to participate in STEM education, having more girls enter STEM fields, basically?
I think it's just easier to imagine doing something if you've seen someone who looks like you, who is like you, who perhaps comes from the same background as you, do it and then get to know about it. I think if I just imagine 20 years back when I saw Kalpana Chawla go to the space, it makes you feel like, okay, you can as well perhaps do it. Otherwise, it's a matter of who can imagine and who cannot. So that's a huge part. It's about breaking that mental barrier that whether you can or cannot do, because you see people perhaps just like you doing that. I think that's far more powerful than things like encouragement and me sitting here and telling that you need to pick your battles. I don't know how many people will actually start doing that after that. It takes a lot of repetitions and personal journey to go through that. But just seeing Indira Gandhi as a prime minister can make someone feel like, oh, one can also be a prime minister. So that's a more powerful mental barrier.
Absolutely. So seeing more role models out there, women who look like you, can be that motivation that, yes, I can do this too.
Yeah.
Finally, my last question to you is, at this stage of your career, what are your goals and aspirations, and do they in any way involve or are influenced by your STEM training or journey?
So, of course, my one single point of ambition is to make animal work, to make animal really big, and to hopefully scale it to 75 million dairy farmers that exist in India. My STEM education has definitely played a huge role in it because a lot of my business hard skill sets come from what I've gotten learnings in STEM, be it mathematics or be it the ability to solve problems in bunches. More than that, I think my IT education really gave me a boost in confidence to do something big. When you are 16, 17-year old and you try to study for something for so long and then you actually make it, it makes you feel like you can do anything. Apart from the core content and the technical education, it's that as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking with us. And we hope to keep learning more about your journey and Animal's journey as well.
Thank you so much, Ridhima.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. At STEM the Gap, our goal is to bridge the gender imbalances in STEM through multidisciplinary research, policy, and practice. If you enjoyed listening to this conversation, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel and stay connected with us through our website and social media pages. Links in description.